You rejoin us for the start line now of the Inland Off-Road Championship, round number 4, Gauteng, and 210 kilometers of racing remain. The prologue has decided now the starting order as well as the gaps. Watch out, it's going to be very close for a couple of crews who qualified low and will be doing the chase down. There's a perfect qualifier coming in for Jason Fenter and Jaco van Aert, but they have a slender 9-second gap before they get chased down by Ernst Roberts and Henry Kerner. Those are the guys going and chasing in the Class T's and the open category. An incredible qualifier coming in for Francois van der Walt and Kerry Prinsloo, but an even more stellar qualifier for Vickers Haasbroek and Jurgen Smith. Philip de Vries and Zander would do the chase down, followed by Vos, and then Dave Huddy would be after that. One of the big threats though would be right after Huddy. Stefan van Pletsen and Jaco Pieterse would be driving straight into the dust and would go wide and make mincemeat of Huddy, as Huddy got stuck in the dust of Prinsloo. But I'll tell you what, that was one brave early pass for Van Pletsen, who made up 2 places and important places early on by going wide of the line. That is going to have to be the story of the day as well. Make passes where you can, when you can, because look at the wall of dust that everyone was going into. People were making all kinds of lines to make the passes early on to try and get the moves up there. Dylan Fenter would do the same thing, as he was going to push on hard as possible in the early laps and the early kilometers to try and improve his position. As soon as you hit that wall of dust, it was just that, a wall of dust that stopped drivers almost in their tracks. For the Gaveyas, an instant roll-off as they headed into the cloud. Until the dust started to disperse, it was going to be absolutely lethal conditions, and that would cause a massive buffer. Some of the drivers a little bit further back with dust gaps would have the bigger advantage. That move by Van Pletsen was definitely going to pay dividends in the early kilometers though. Further down the queue, everyone was just praying that that dust bowl would start to blow away, and if you look to the start line flags, there was zero movement in the air. Everyone knew exactly what they were driving into. This was going to cause not only pace issues, but also navigation issues, as everyone tried to figure out the best way to get around the circuit. They'd be familiar with the first couple of kilometers, but after kilometer 35, that was going to be the question mark. Wide lines was the story of the early kilometers to try and stay out of the dust. Louis Weichelt marked the 5-minute marker. The top 30 crews qualifying inside the top 5 minutes, showing how tight times were and predicted how close times were going to be as well at the end of the first loop of racing. Our camera crew were doing a good job at this stage as well to try and just capture the images before all the cars disappeared into the fog, the brown fog as we call it. One of the big stories of the morning session of the prologue was Willem de Tooy's low qualifier, but we know he is an absolute madman in the dust, and he can and will push through it to try and climb his way up the ladder. He set himself a bit of a task though. He was going to be pushed hard by a couple of very tasty side-by-sides who were also getting punished for their small mistakes in the prologue in the morning session. As we closed in on the end of the queue, Ronnie Burtis knew exactly what to do. Etienne Fenter giving him the green light to make the pass, get the hammer down as quick as possible. Off-road drag racing, making the pass before you get into the dust. Nice move for Big Ron there. Ignis getting a faceful. Slightly better for them though, at least they do have a cab to hide it in. Suma Smith and Gabby Pieterse would have their work cut out, as would Elise Roberts and Jaco Skitter. Skitter though knows how to guide and will be able to keep her safe the whole way through the day. The Van Rooyens would be chased down by Sifi van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw, who would be ruining their low qualifier. One of the worst prologues they've had in the history of racing together, and on the worst conditions as well. Glenteron and Gerrit Skitter joining forces in the G110. Gerrit, very good at navigating through the dust, and he would be desperately trying to make their way forward on lap number 1 to try and figure it out. Lawrence Boyson and Rickers Hutting would be guiding as hard as he possibly could as well. They'd be chased down by Andre Pretorius and Lawrence Mahoney, who would be working furiously in the cockpit. No comms, throwing the horn. Looked like Lawrence was going to be on the wheel for the first section. You can see the notes there for Andre, and the hand grab. That was going to be fun. First time out racing for that pairing as well. They learned a lot in the morning session, but check out how the conditions were. Braking was just kicking up even more dust and acceleration, and the road gaps were going to be bringing everyone together. A lot of road crossings, a couple of river splashes, and railway crossings were going to be slowing the flow that everyone was so desperately trying to find in the morning session. 2 laps of 110 kilometers in arduous dust conditions was going to ask everything of all of the 49 crews making the lineup queue. It was clear those who qualified well were going to be rewarded handsomely for it. The prologue certainly paying off for the riders that were willing to risk it in the morning session 35k loop. For now, the dust was hanging, and everyone was praying that the dust would get blown away at some point. The P17 would go on board to see what it looks like with Willem de Tooy on the wheel and Leonard Kramer on the notes as you drive into low sun and dust, the ultimate nasty combo. They've showed us they can plow the field in previous events. This was going to be a huge task though. Join us after the break as we continue the 210k main race.